How's it going, everybody? It's C-Rad from C-RadTV, and welcome to the 2019 NBA Playoffs Bracket and Predictions. Oh boy, this is gonna be some unpredictable basketball, am I right? It's not like there's like only 4 or 5 good teams and then everybody else is just there for filler and are all fucked. But you know what? Let's just pretend everybody has a chance, right? And let's go ahead and look at all the competition this year and see how all these 16 participants take fare as they look for the 2019 title. So let's go ahead and look at the East, and as you can see here, there is no Cleveland in sight. So yes, there is one guarantee in this playoffs. We are guaranteed to not have another finals of Golden State versus Cleveland. So there will no be Warriors versus Cavs 5. Thank fucking Christ. That was getting fucking annoying really fast. But you know what? That's a rant for another day. Let's continue on. So let's start off. The first team we have, the best team in the NBA this year, the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh boy, Milwaukee, how are you gonna blow it this year? Milwaukee's had a really solid team, you know. Some solid pieces on this team, names like Chris Middleton, Paul Gasol, Eric Bledsoe, Nikolai Mirotic, and of course the Greek Freak, the leader of the squad, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't know how to fucking say his last name. It's a fucking tongue twister and a half. Milwaukee always knows how to cock tease their fans in all of this. And honestly, I don't want this team to have any success because their co-owner is a quarterback I fucking despise. Aaron Rodgers. May Aaron Rodgers' soul and presence carry you deep. He won't be on the court to carry you fuckers if you fuck up. Next team we have, the Toronto Raptors. So the Raptors have another solid squad. And this time they don't have to worry about no LeBron in the playoffs, so they don't have to be called LeBronto anymore. This Toronto team is a lot better than last year's, a lot more loaded with talent. Names like Kawhi Leonard, Jeremy Lin, Serge Ibaka, Pascal Siakam, and Marc Gasol join Kyle Lowry. And really, this is their final year to compete for a title before they have to rebuild. Because a lot of these names are going to be gone at the end of the year. Kawhi Leonard doesn't want to be in Toronto and might leave at the end of the year. And Kyle Lowry might take his Oregon Trail elsewhere. This is truly NBA title or bust. May the odds be with you, Toronto. Don't fuck this up. And if you fuck it up, Toronto, guess what? You got a decent legacy of failure forming. A couple more years of incompetence, and it's ready to go for business. Next up, we have the process, the Philadelphia 76ers. This team is a good sign of how the process can work if you don't fuck up. Some solid names on this team, names like Ben Simmons, making trade acquisitions for Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. And they also got J.J. Redick. This team, can they pull it off, or will they choke again? And if they lose this year, the Philadelphia fans may not let them down for it. Don't piss the Philadelphia fans off. Make them trust the process, good sirs. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics, who were very inconsistent all year. At the start of the year, they were the favorites to get their asses kicked by the Western Conference. Now at this point, it doesn't look that way. Boston's had a lot of inconsistency, but they got some solid pieces. Names like R.J. Hunter, Gordon Hayward if he can stay healthy, Jason Tatum, and Kyrie Irving. And this could be next year could be a real deciding factor for the Celtics, because Kyrie Irving might be fucking off at the end of the year to go join the Knicks. Unless James Dolan finds a way to fuck that up. Because it's James Dolan. Because Kyrie Irving has been full of drama as of late, and says he won't miss Boston when he fucks off. So Boston, this might be your last shot before you have to retool everything. Don't mess this one up too. Next up we have the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers started off pretty solid, but of course like every other year, when they start off solid, they eventually start falling off near the end, and then in the playoffs they get completely roasted. Of course, this squad has some good talents, names like Demontius Sabonis, Bojan Bogdanovic, Darren Collison, Thaddeus Young, Wesley Matthews, and Miles Turner. A pretty young, solid squad. You know, if they can get hot at the right time and not fall off, they could make some noise in the playoffs and shake some heads. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets. Wait, Brooklyn's in the playoffs? I thought they were fucking tanking. What the fuck? I swore they were tanking. Even when you weren't tanking, Brooklyn, you fucked up on a season objective. You couldn't even fucking tank to win the lottery. You got lucked into the playoffs because the Eastern Conference is about as diluted as my piss. I think last year we saw it when LeBron James single-handedly carried a team of overpaid scrubs to the finals. But this Brooklyn team has some solid players, names like D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, and Caris Everett. Don't worry, you're still fucked because you failed at a season objective. Maybe next time you don't fuck up next year. Next up, the Orlando Magic. Wait, the Magic still fucking exist? I forgot about their existence because of how fucking irrelevant they've been the last few years. Now, this squad has some solid names like Aaron Gordon, DJ Augustin, Evan Fournier, and Nikolai Vucevic. But odds are they will probably do next to dickety shit in the playoffs because this team's hopes and dreams is as dead as their owner is. And finally, we get to our final team. I saved the best for last because it's my team. The Detroit Pistons. Oh boy, where do I start with this team? I think you know about how this team is if you've been paying attention to my Detroit Pistons monthly series. Every month since December about how this team has been inconsistent as all hell. Because one month they look like one of the worst teams in the league. The next month they look like they should be an NBA title contender. It's inconsistency. It's like, what the fuck is this squad supposed to be? The Pistons almost fucking blew it and missed the playoffs, but were able to get lucky because they played two teams tanking in the Grizzlies and the Knicks, as those two teams were tanking to try and get Zion Williamson. But for the Pistons, if they can get their shit together at the right time, they could make some noise in the playoffs. For the Pistons, their squad is led by the likes of Andre Drummond, Wayne Ellington, Reggie Jackson, of course, Blake Griffin, if his knee can stay healthy, and the basketball gods don't put an axe to it. If Blake Griffin is out, this team is severely fucked. Like, if Blake's out, they'll be so fucked they can't even stand straight. So Detroit, if you want to really make some noise in the playoffs, get your fucking shit together. And you better hope to God you get hot at the right time. But yeah, that is the Eastern Conference this year. Now let's move on to the Western Conference. Here are our 8 participants. So let's get started. First off, we have the gods, Golden State. Of course, the core, same as last year. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Now already a dynasty by winning 3 titles in the last 4 years. How the fuck do they make this more lopsided? Oh, I don't know. Let's just throw Boogie Cousins to him. Why the fuck not? Because, hell, this team isn't already stacked as it already is. And of course, this team is filled with drama, as this could be the last year of this team. Because Draymond Green wants to play a dick measuring contest with the Warriors organization, daring the Warriors to trade him. And Kevin Durant might be fucking off at the end of the year to go join the Knicks. O.S. Dolan somehow fucks that up too. And of course, all this team wants to do is whine to the refs and then complain about ownership, despite the fact they own over half the fucking league. And the odds are, anything that isn't the NBA title is deemed unacceptable for this team. This one, its NBA title or bust without a doubt. And odds are Warriors will probably make it 4 out of 5 titles. 4 titles in the last 5 years. But let's move on. Next up, Denver Nuggets. So the Nuggets are finally good for once. Could this be the year they end the legacy of failure? Probably not, because then they're in the West and they're going to have to play Golden State at some point. But this team has some really good young talent. Names like Nikolai Jokic, Will Barton, Paul Millsap, Gary Harris, and Jamal Murray. This team could be solid in the future years once the Warrior overlords are dethroned and that super team is no more. Continuing on, next up, we have Portland. So Portland has another solid regular season. Normally, we know how this song and dance always goes. The core for this team consists of Damian Lillard, Enes Kanter, and CJ McCollum. Maybe in free agency you don't fucking half-ass it. Next up, the Houston Rockets. Surprisingly, Houston has taken a massive step back this year. Last year, Houston came one win short and a CP3 injury away from beating the Warriors and advancing to the finals. Too bad the basketball gods show no mercy. Houston, of course, the same core as about last year. You got James Harden, Chris Paul, if he can stay healthy, Eric Gordon, and Clint Capella. Maybe Houston can get it done this year. Probably not, because it's the West. Next up, the Utah Jazz. So Utah has another solid regular season in the playoffs. Their core about the same. Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles, Derek Favors, and Donovan Mitchell. If only Detroit weren't dumbasses in the draft, they could have had Mitchell. If they didn't pass on him. This could have been you, Detroit, if you weren't fucking idiots in the draft. But of course, you know, they've had some solid success in the playoffs before having to bow out to a top-seeded team in the West. And if the Utah Jazz win a playoff series, they're probably going to have to play Golden State in the playoff in the second round. And yeah, we know how that song and dance is going to end. Too bad you're in the Western Conference and you have the Warriors. Next up, Oklahoma City. So once again, this team was Russell Westbrook and Paul George carrying some good scrubs to a playoff spot. Mainly off the back of Russell Westbrook's triple-doubles out the ass. Paul George has had some solid games too, and you got some solid other players like Jeremiah Grant and Steven Adams. Maybe OKC can actually make some noise in the playoffs, but odds are they would have to play the Warriors. But if they play Golden State, they're gonna have to run into their old friend, the spineless snake Kevin Durant, who stabbed them in the back to go join the super team. Next up, the San Antonio Spurs. Wait, weren't the Spurs supposed to be good this year? What the fuck? I didn't think they'd take the piss this badly. Like, the Spurs have underachieved. This was supposed to be a 50-win team. They underachieved massively in the East. In the West, yeah. Of course, this team has some new named in DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. They also got LaMarcus Aldridge and Ben Forbes. At least San Antonio keeps their playoff streak alive, because that's all that matters. The streak still lives! It's so wonderful, isn't it? Too bad in the West, and you're in the West, and you're probably going to do next to dickety shit. And then finally, we get the Los Angeles Clippers. Because the Lakers somehow managed to fuck up the playoff spot even with LeBron James. Oh boy, the LeBron sexuals are gonna be fucking pissed that the Clippers got in over them. So it turned out the Lakers are still fucked. And hey, with LeBron out of the finals, it means that this will be the first finals in 8 years that will not contain LeBron James. Man, this is gonna be interesting. A playoffs without LeBron James, huh? So yeah, the LA Clippers, they got names like Will Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Shai Gilgeous Alexander. You still ain't making it past the second round, because the Clippers still have the most impressive legacy of failure in the NBA, and they're going to add to that even more. So yeah, those are our 16 participants in the NBA playoffs this year. Now let's go to the grids. So here's the Eastern Conference playoff grid. We have Milwaukee versus Detroit. We have Toronto versus Orlando. Philadelphia versus Brooklyn. And Boston versus Indiana. That is the Eastern Conference side of this. In the Western Conference side, we have Golden State versus the Clippers. Denver versus San Antonio. Portland versus Oklahoma City. And Houston versus Utah. So, with our playoff round set for round 1, who will move on in the second round. So here is my round 2 for the NBA playoffs this year. So on the Eastern side, I see Milwaukee easily cruising past the Pistons. The Pistons have been inconsistent all year, and I don't see it turning around in the playoffs. I got the Bucks beating the Pistons in 5 games. I think Detroit will win a game. You know, they've just been inconsistent. I'm not seeing it from the Pistons this year. So I'm going to say the Bucks will win that series in 5 games. Or maybe in that series, am I doing everything in my power to not jinx my own team? Something for you to think about. Toronto, Orlando, this is no question. I got the Raptors sweeping the Magic. The Magic's hopes and dreams are fucking dead. There is nothing here. Not a sip. Toronto wins easily. Philadelphia, Brooklyn, I see that being a bit of a competitive series. Now, am I saying the Sixers are going to win that series? I'm going to say 6 games. I think Brooklyn may shock some people. And might bring it to Philly because Philadelphia has a knack of letting their foot off the gas too much. And then we got Boston versus Indianapolis. I think the Pacers are falling off big time. I'm going to take the Celtics to beat the Pacers in 6 games. So yeah, on the Eastern side, I have Milwaukee versus Boston in round 2. And I got Toronto versus Philly in round 2. So yeah, we got some good series in the second round. In the Western side, I got Golden State sweeping the Clippers without a doubt. I think Denver versus San Antonio is going to be competitive. I'm going to take the Nuggets to beat the Spurs in 6 games. I got Oklahoma City upsetting the Portland Trail Blazers in 7 games. Because it's Portland, they always have a good regular season. And in the playoffs, they get exposed for the frauds that they are. So Portland will once again become Damian Lillard and his band of "You're fucked." But OKC will make it to the second round. And Houston versus Utah, it's going to be a competitive series, but I think this year we're going to see Utah take a step back. I got the Rockets over the Jazz in 6 games. So in round 2, on the west side, I have Golden State versus Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant takes on his old team that he stabbed in the back. And I have the Denver Nuggets and the Houston Rockets in the second round. So, out of these 8 teams, who will advance to the conference finals into the Final Four? Let's take a look. So here's my third rounds for both sides. So on the Eastern side, Toronto and Philadelphia, that's going to be a tough series if they match up. I think it could go either way. I'm going to say the Raptors beat the Sixers in 7 games. Milwaukee and Boston. Milwaukee always has a knack of choking in the playoffs and cock-teasing the fans. And I think the Celtics are going to take advantage of it. So I got the Celtics upsetting the Bucks in 6 games. So my Eastern Conference final is Toronto versus Boston. I think this was the East final everyone had in the preseason. So it just remains the same. On the Western side, I have Golden State hammering OKC 4-1. For Oklahoma, it's going to take more than a shitload of triple-doubles for Russell Westbrook to carry on past the Warriors. And for Denver, Houston, that's going to be a competitive series, but I think Houston takes a massive step back. I'm going to say the Nuggets beat the Rockets in 6 games. So in the third round, I have it being Golden State versus Denver for the Western Conference Finals. So, out of the Final Four, who moves on to the NBA Finals for 2019? So the 2019 NBA Finals will be Golden State versus Cleveland. No, I'm just joking with you. I have it being Golden State versus Toronto. You know, I was originally going to pick Boston over Toronto because we know Toronto has a knack of choking in the playoffs. But Boston has been full of drama. You know, there's a lot of tension with Kyrie Irving and the rest of the team. You know, Kyrie Irving, of course, saying he's the reason everyone on that team has relevance. Like, there's just so much drama in Boston that it's going to be a major distraction in the playoffs. And I see that drama catching up to them in the third round. So I got the Raptors beating the Celtics in 7 games. In the West, I have this being a competitive series between the Warriors and the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets bring it to Golden State. But in the end, I think Golden State will be just too much for Denver to handle. So I got the Warriors beating the Nuggets in 6 games. So there it is. The finals. Golden State versus Toronto. Will it go back to Golden State again? Or will the title come north to Canada? Let's see who I have. So to be perfectly honest, for the NBA Finals this year, I don't really care who wins the championship. I just want someone to beat the fucking Warriors this year. I don't care who it is. Milwaukee, Toronto, Philly, Boston, Indy, Detroit, Denver, Houston, OKC, San Antonio, Utah. I don't care who it is that beats Golden State. Just somebody. Please be the heroes we all want you to be and unfuck this league. Because we all know Golden State has all but brain-fucked this league with their super team into a fucking coma. The only way it's gonna be cured is if this super team is no more or if they lose in the finals. Nothing would please me more than to see the Warriors lose out and their bandwagon fan base cry in tears. That's why I think the Warriors are gonna win the NBA title in 5 games. Because we all know my luck with these are shit-tacular. So there you go, Golden State. I just officially jinxed you. Go fuck yourselves. Golden State over Toronto in 5 games. But yeah, those are my NBA playoffs predictions. Let me know what yours are. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope everyone has a great day. Peace out. And my jinxing, don't fail me now.